Hi, Manjula.
Hi.
Welcome to
Thank
Soul
you.
Brews with Sheba. And I'm so delighted to have you on Coffee and Soul. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So, you've got your cup of coffee ready with you?
Yes, yes,
All
I
right.
have.
So, let's just raise a cheer. It's great to know
Yes,
you and wonderful to reconnect after this long COVID session that we
I
all
know.
had. But it's a pleasure to see you again. Cheers. Cheers.
Same here. Cheers.
So, Manjula, if I ask you to just sit back a bit, sit back and
Okay.
hold this cup or whatever it is that you have in it in your hands, and if it's spiked, that's wonderful. But you can just sit back and just close your eyes and just breathe and relax. See if any image comes to your mind. Just relax deeply, relax. See if any image comes to your mind.
You want me to talk about the image?
Yes, whenever you're ready. You can open your eyes
Mm.
whenever you're ready and share with us what's coming to your mind.
Oh, wow. What came to my mind is like the roads of Ladakh,
Wow.
like winding through the mountains and seeing those huge, glossy Himalayan crows flying next to
Wow.
you as you zoom down those roads. Beautiful. It's the most beautiful thing.
What does it mean for you, this visual? What does it give you? What is that sensation that comes with it?
It means freedom,
Mhm.
and limitlessness,
Mhm.
and also pushing oneself, to do something that you're initially very scared of doing,
Mhm.
which is what it was like. I mean, I was. It's when you're riding through terrain that you're not used to. It's very scary,
Mhm. Of course,
and
of
but
course.
yeah, but when you especially like in places like Ladakh and places of great beauty do something for you.
Correct.
They rejuvenate you.
Yes.
They make you feel and they give you ideas as well. I mean, this is as ancient as humanity, I suppose.
Yes.
This understanding of what nature can give you just by you being in it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when this picture came to your mind, this visual, were you actually on the bike there in this space?
Yeah.
So so how was that, like one of your first trips on your motorbike up in the mountains, or?
Yeah, in Ladakh. That was this big trip that we had. Like some 7 girls went on bikes. Girls meaning women
Yeah,
went on
it's fine.
bikes to
We love to be girls as well, so it's fine.
to Ladakh. And yeah, and I've never topped that. I mean, one gets so I don't know, embroiled in life, and you don't do anything that's really challenging. I mean, right? One can ride to Rajasthan, and Rajasthan is also a beautiful place.
Sure.
And you can ride to places across India, but I don't know. There's something about riding in the mountains, in the Himalayas. It's like, and even Ladakh, like specifically Ladakh, because it's such. Now they've made all the roads very good,
Hmm,
and they've made that tunnel, which I don't know which rider would want to take it.
I
It's
know.
for goods and stuff. It's like you can't just reach lay. I mean, it takes the whole fun out of it if you're.
Absolutely. In a dark tunnel, can
Oh
you?
my God,
Yeah,
what is that? you
exactly.
know, and when nature is so beautiful outside, it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
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 So
So but this is beautiful, and every time you talk about this, you make me really yearn to start getting out on these kind of trips again. So tell me, this brings me very nicely to the next question that I want to ask you, Manjula.
yeah.
You've look at the choices you made, and you've had some very, very interesting uh, things that you have been doing in your life. Talk to me about it. What's this journey been like for you? What have been some of your highs, your key learnings? All of us have a point which is like a defining moment, which makes us change
Hmm.
from one thing to another. So, what has been
Hmm.
your journey like, Manjula?
Well, I'm actually, I don't know, I'm pretty conventional in the sense that like I'm married, I've got kids and all that, but and a job, and it's not like I'm doing anything extraordinary, but the thing is that I found that it's so conventional and it's so I mean, it's not bad, but it's what everybody does,
Correct.
and it's
Correct.
nice to do. But I mean,
Correct.
you enjoy it and the fruits of it or whatever.
Sure.
But there's nothing that really challenges you in the
Yeah.
sense of uh, taking you out of yourself and making you learn things that are new. Which when you I found that when I started riding, you know.
Motorbike. Yeah.
Motorbikes, that's what made me, because I'm actually quite, I realized when I started riding, I'm a pretty timid person. I doesn't come across like that, but inside one is always scared, oh, about what could happen, what will people think, what
Yeah.
will they do, what will I do when I mean, come to this obstacle, and always like thinking about the horrible things that could happen.
Right.
Okay. But once you're on a bike, things just come at you, right? And you just
Right.
have to like, it's like you're solving problems
Yeah. Yeah.
as you go.
Right.
So I found that a very liberating experience. You
Absolutely.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me more.
yeah.
Tell me more.
Because then that made me think that, oh, okay. So even when life throws rubbish at you, you can't just keep thinking, am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? Because that could happen, and that, which is what I tend to do.
Hmm.
I left to myself, I tend to do that.
Hmm.
You know, think up the problems and then try to solve them before I get to them. Which means that I never do anything. Because you're caught up in this like sort of static stasis. I mean, you just like paralyzed because you think, oh, these things could happen, and how to do take the path of least resistance, which is not a
Sure.
learning way. you
Sure.
know
Sure.
so, so then I think biking made me I mean, of course, there are like, I mean, when I say biking, there are people who who've done great things, women who like this lady I met last year when she was riding through India. She's ridden all, and I follow her on Insta. I can't remember her name, but she's ridden all over the world. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
and she has a family back home somewhere in Eastern Europe, but
Hmm.
she's ridden all over the world, and
Wow.
yeah, it's superb.
Yeah.
So you, I mean, you find things, and then the thing is that on the, even socially, you think that, I mean, I used to think that, oh, maybe you shouldn't speak to those people or these people, but once you start riding and you go out on the road, you don't care.
Exactly.
You speak to people, and you realize that uh, that I mean, it doesn't matter if he's like, middle class, poor, rich, whatever, from a different culture. Humans, you find a point of meeting, somewhere, and you could be an absolute stranger, but if I'm in trouble, they will help me.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And isn't that amazing to discover that people are actually good, and
Yes.
and that is
Yes.
so beautiful.
That is what is, yeah, that's what I really I loved finding out. I mean, I never thought, you're brought up in a way to think that, oh, as a woman in India, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you should speak to this person, and you should be to yourself and all that.
Mm.
Yeah, it is true, you should be to yourself, but you should also not be.
Exactly. 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 I mean, you got to live your life and
Yeah.
give people an opportunity to become a part of your life, even for a short bit, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of things are because of the way you think, the way your perceptions. It's all in your. It's I mean, it's a cliche to say it's all in your head, but it is how you view the world is how the world often treats you.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
So
Yeah, that is so right. So okay, so this is what like kind of set you free. Was there a
yes,
particular moment, Manjula, that you felt all right? That this is when I'm definitely going to start doing this? Or how did it happen for you?
Oh, it was a very slow thing. Actually, the
Slow
thing is that,
burn,
I
yeah.
had started riding scooters,
Hmm.
okay, when my children were very young, because
Hmm.
in fact, like when they were just born, I think my younger son was just born, and I was like, I was in my in-laws' place in Kerala,
Hmm.
and uh, my niece, my husband's niece,
Hmm.
she used to go to college on her scooter, and I said,
Hmm.
I mean, and I had a lot of time, when the kids were
Yeah.
sleeping. I said, I'm bored, so
Yeah.
she just teach me how to ride this ride the scooter. So
Yeah.
I was like riding around, and she was teaching me, and it's so easy to learn. So I kept riding around. Then when we moved to Pune from Bombay, you know I thought, I mean, like, there was a time whenever the school bus wouldn't turn up, I decided, okay, buy a scooter, so I can, so I
Yeah.
don't have to like wait for a taxi, or I waste time and they get late for school. So I got the scooter, and then we like, I would drop them. This then I started riding around Pune city on this Activa. And but whenever I was riding it, and Pune is a lovely place,
Yeah.
and, and I'd be riding the thing, and I'd be thinking, I wish I was on a motorbike. Why am I on this puny scooter? On this, I mean, I love that Activa, and it like, and I used to ride it to Bombay to meet my friends.
Wow,
Will you
really?
believe this?
Wow.
Yeah, I've done it multiple times on that silly Activa, riding all the way for 4 hours
I
to
just
four and
have
a
to
half
come in
hours.
here. You do yourself a real injustice when you say, you're very conventional and all. No, look at the choices you make. Look at the things that you've done. So you are this and that, and that's very much a part of who you are, Manjula.
Okay.
Great. All right, go ahead. Tell me more.
So I used to do that, and then but while I was doing that, I was constantly thinking, okay, this is like, it's too slow and it's too small. It's too, you know, uh, I need to like upgrade. And then we moved to Delhi, and I got like really busy with everything, my career, and
So
I
what
didn't.
was career for you? What did you? I know you do.
See, I'm a journalist. I'm a
Yeah.
journalist. I'm the books editor at Hindustan Times.
Right.
Okay,
National
so
books
I'm
editor, right?
the national books editor at
Yeah.
Hindustan Times. I do the
Right.
books page, and
Yeah.
so uh, yeah, and I actually do a podcast as well. Am I
Yeah.
allowed to say
Yes,
that?
absolutely. Please tell us about it so we can all follow. Me and
Oh,
people
please, please.
would
It's
love
like
to.
it's called the Books and Authors podcast, and
Yes.
you get it on. I mean, it's on Spotify and everywhere, I
Yeah.
think, and it's on HD Smartcast as well.
Okay.
And every week I do an episode, and I meet one author, who's written a good book, and
Fabulous.
I interview
Fabulous.
them. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's also part of my
That's
thing.
that's so good, and you do such a fine job of interviewing them, and you
Thank
meet
you.
such interesting people, and you also when you talk to them, you bring out something different in them, and that's your way of interviewing, I think, which is I've seen one of your episodes, and
Okay,
I just feel that it's a real skill to bring that out.
okay.
So fabulous to see. Anjul. I'm sure you've heard.
Thank you. So
Yeah.
did you saw the video ones which I used to do pre-COVID times? I used to do a video instead. Then I decided that I don't want to get into it because it used to be like studio and a person sitting this close, and
Yeah, yeah. I saw
then
the video one. I saw the video one,
yeah,
not
yeah. So
your.
I haven't done video for a year. Actually, the first time I'm appearing on a screen, by the way, in a year.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and now
So
it's like
go ahead.
yeah.
And now
So
it's like no, no, go ahead.
I graduated, or I segued slowly into audio only podcast,
Good.
which
Which
yeah,
frees
which is
one
also
up,
good.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So you
So
were
yeah,
telling me then you moved to Delhi. Then what happened?
then we moved to Delhi, and I was like really busy and everything, and I didn't need to like, I don't know, drop kids to school. Though when I first came to Delhi and I joined Tehelka, I had joined Tehelka, which was still existing
Yeah,
then,
you were with
and
Tehelka. I didn't know
I
that.
was with Tehelka. Yeah, I was with Tehelka, and so I used to ride from Gurgaon to GK to where the office was on that Activa, and people used to think I was mad, you know. and then I said, okay, maybe the weather here isn't right. very suitable to going on a scooter every day and this distance to work. So I dumped it and But then I missed riding. So like a few years later, then I'd stopped riding completely, and I got busy with other things. And then sometime I don't know what happened. And I was on a flight to the northeast or something, Manipur or something. I'm just remembering this right now.
Yeah.
And there was some airline magazine which had this piece on women bikers. I read it and I said, "Why have I stopped?" And look at these women; they're like riding bikes. What the hell? I need to buy one. And yeah, I came back from that. It was a work trip. I came back. I went and I bought a bike. I bought a
Fabulous.
I bought a motorbike, and then I said, even if I don't ride it to office, which I hate, you riding it every
Yes.
day is kind of kills the pleasure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want to make it a commuter thing. So
Correct.
I said, so then I started riding around on this, and that was it was my first. What was it? It wasn't a bullet or anything. It was one of those easy bikes. Avenger. It was an Avenger. So it
Avenger.
was
Yeah.
really easy to
Yeah.
ride around. So,
Yeah.
and again, after a while, I said I need to upgrade. So now I've got a Thunderbird. So yeah,
Oh.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so that's how it's been. So
Fabulous. Yeah. Yeah. So,
yeah.
well, while you're doing this, you are continuing to do your work in HD as the National Books Editor, and you also do these. Are there some So what I would really like to hear from you is some incidents or some influences that kind of made you look at life differently. Apart from what you've told me, the sense of freedom you slowly moved into spaces which it's like reclaiming oneself, right? So
Yeah.
what have been some of the key influences, some in your life?
The key influences, I mean, it would sound very strange if I said my dog is.
No, it's not. It's not. I
Yeah.
totally get it. I totally get it.
uh, I
What?
don't
What?
know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, go
Uh,
ahead, explore it. Tell me about it. So when you say
no,
it's,
I mean, yeah, when I think, when I look at animals and I think, they live so instinctively and they're
Mhm,
so honest.
mhm,
I mean, I've got three dogs, okay?
mhm,
So, and
mhm.
one is she's 10 years old, and she's had like two puppies. Now they're like almost they're 15 months old, so
Yeah,
you can't call them really. They're not
the
puppy
big
puppies,
fellows. Yeah,
but they still, yeah, they're still dumb, so they're puppies. It's like a teenager who looks big and large, but is like empty here because it's had no experience. So the dogs are exactly like that. So these 15-month-old pups who look fearsome but are silly. So yeah, so the mother dog, Kuro, who's been with me for like 10 years, I used to like, there's no filter, right? Dogs don't have a filter. They're like, then you're never going to meet a dog who says she likes you but doesn't really like you. You know,
mm,
who will uh, who will pretend that you're great but work behind your back. You know what I mean?
yeah.
To
I know
like
exactly
undermine
what you
you.
mean.
You will never find a dog like that. Is what you see is what you get. You know.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah. So I found that. I mean, I never had dogs before in my life.
sure.
Before I had her, before we
Yeah,
adopted her.
yeah,
So it was a learning experience, even that. I mean, I think, wow, this is also a way to be. Why
right.
should you always have play games and have so many, barriers with people and,
Yeah,
just be yourself. And
yeah.
actually, that I learned from Kuro, my dog. So,
Fabulous.
yeah.
I mean, that is
Yeah.
so good, and the fact that you recognize it and you see it, what this beautiful animal has obviously taught you, and they do teach you, and you have to have the eyes to see, to really
Hmm.
understand what is it, and you have that, and that is so when you were saying that it'd be funny, it's not funny at all, Manjula. It's very embracing of life, and of
Hmm.
everyone, not just
Thank
human beings. So that is that is
you.
that is
Yeah.
beautiful. So then tell me more. What else have been some of the key experiences in your life? It could be in your travel, it could be something that you bumped into, it could be something that, some say it's like it becomes like a metaphor for life, or you can have many metaphors for life. But what do you think yours is?
Hmm. Well, I mean, when you like, I don't know, when you read poets like, Emily Dickinson,
Mhm.
it kind of, and then you read about her life, you see that she didn't move much. She didn't do, I mean, outwardly,
Mhm.
there's not much action,
Mhm.
but like she's created such great poetry out of just out of what out of her thought process, and
Mhm.
it's emerged from, I mean, she's lived, but
Yes.
it's not, she's not gone out and conquered lands, or like in an in the historic way, like men have been doing,
Yes.
going
Yes.
here and going there and colonizing this place or
Mhm.
setting up a business there, you know not
Yes.
like that, but still, like creating things of such great beauty. So basically the idea for me was, from that I thought this, I mean, I read her as a student way long ago, but and then it struck me that it's really what you feed your head, and how much, how deeply you think about things, that real change or action can come from that you know
Mhm. Mhm.
it's a bit abstruse, and but I think that something like, it doesn't have to be religious, like the Bhagavad Gita. I don't find it is, now people have claimed it as a very religious text, but and in these days of Hindutva, it's like everybody's waving it around,
Mhm.
but that's a very profound text on how you can, how you can live your life, and how you can think about things that happen to you, and how you need to maintain a sort of equanimity, and a sort of calm,
Mhm.
because because this constant, you can make your mark on the world, yes, of course, but true change actually comes from thinking deeply about things, and then carrying out action
Action,
you know
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I completely resonate with what you're saying. It's like that. It's like feeding your mind. It's really like what you said. There's this story, right, about the two wolves that live inside us, and which is the one
Hmm.
that is going to be predominant is the one that we feed, and how are we
Yes,
going to be? What are we feeding
yes,
it with? What you
yes,
reflect even on Emily Dickinson. I mean, the beauty and the depth of the inner life, and being able to
yes,
write from that. I think that is,
yeah.
yes, it's totally true. It's so amazing.
And it's
So,
also very difficult in this age, because
mm,
we are so dominated by social media.
mm,
you
mm,
know in the
mm,
sense, I mean, social media is a great thing, and it's a great tool, and to put our work out there, and to meet new people, and I've met so many people online who I would never have met, you
mm,
know in the real world, and I would consider, and one learns constantly from them, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook,
mm, mm,
absolute strangers, and you think, wow, look at what he's doing, or look at what she's managed, and
mm,
it gives you ideas for things for your own life.
mm.
But social media also has this very, like, negative kind of side to it, where people are constantly trying to be popular, you know so if they have an unpopular idea which makes sense, or which makes perfect sense, but which might make them not look like a hero,
Mm,
they might suppress it,
mm,
you know what I mean, or
mm,
like,
mm,
so it's very, so it's, in a sense, you're being untrue to yourself, because you,
mm,
even though you believe in something, you will just go with what the majority says,
mm,
because that will make you popular, or at least it'll avoid making you unpopular,
mm,
you know
mm, mm,
those sort of things.
mm,
uh
mm.
you know
Yeah,
I don't know
no,
how we got to this
absolutely.
point.
No, it's a great point to it. Tell me more. Tell me more. This is very
Hmm.
interesting to
So,
explore, particularly when you're talking about, the two sides of social media.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I think, great. I love social media, and I have to stop myself from going overboard. I used to be on it all the time, and then now I just ration it, because I think that, I get a lot from it, but it also takes a lot, and it makes you behave in ways that you might not like from yourself,
Mm,
like
mm,
getting into brawls. And I mean, in the end, why would you do that?
mm,
Why would you make yourself do that? But I mean, I found myself doing that, and I found it. I didn't like myself
mm. Was it
behaving like that.
Was it something
Pardon?
you were just experimenting with and trying to see where it'll take? What was it, Manjula, that took you to that point and then you
No.
step back? Because, at this point that we've got to is very interesting, given look at the boom in social media and look at what people are doing right now. So I think these kind of discussions are very important to keep perspective and bring us into balance.
Hmm. Yeah. See, like I mean, in the beginning or before, I don't know. It's like one just tends to just go with the flow, and
Mm,
you're interacting with people, and then
mm,
you just say things without thinking, or you
mm,
just react without thinking, which
mm,
is silly for an adult, maybe,
mm,
because there are all sorts of people out there, and all sorts of mental health issues, and I mean, and you don't know where people are coming from, and so you should, and everybody has good and bad in them,
mm,
so you should know what to pick.
mm,
And
mm.
if you're going to constantly react to the negative things that people put out there, then you will also be filling yourself with negativity, I feel.
Absolutely. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
so okay, a person might be mm, not nice, but I'm sure they have other things, sides to them. So
Mm.
just focus on that. Like, why should and then get into brawls with them? It's just a waste of your time.
It's a waste of the time. Totally is a waste of energy
Yeah.
and time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
the things like politics and stuff, and everybody has different views. You
Right.
can never have a world where everybody has the same views. And if you're left wing, you want everybody to be left wing. If you're right wing, you want everybody to be right wing.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, boss.
No,
That's
no.
not how the world is.
Exactly.
Everybody has to be
Exactly.
uniformly thinking the same thing. But you have to, like, maybe you make sure that you don't, like, sort of be so delete Ali so much, and be so weak, so weak that you don't stand up for what you think is right.
That's right.
Like,
That's
maybe
right.
maybe exploitation and stuff like that. I mean, actually just saying things about it on social media makes no difference. But if you're making, if you're, suppose you're in the media and you put that out, and in your work, you maybe, some journalist who works on
Mm,
those issues, that makes sense. Or you contribute to issues that will alleviate those sort of things,
mm.
with your money or your time, volunteering time, that makes sense. But sitting there on social media and just yelling at people, saying, oh, don't do think that, you elitist, and you this and you that, what what
It's just, it's just people venting, with the
venting. And I don't see why they do
right.
it.
Exactly.
I say,
Exactly.
see why they do it. Maybe they don't have much else to do.
Many a time. Many a time.
Yeah,
So okay,
yeah.
so of course, so now that there's some kind of a balance you've eked out for yourself, which is where you the way that you engage with social media, and that's good. In terms of the authors and the books that you've looked, edited, and worked, and the authors that you worked with, are there some, or are there any that kind of just every time you sit back, it goes like a wow. I mean, this was amazing. And I know that you're on video on this one, and you may not. It may not be. I don't know if it's politically appropriate for you or not. But I'm sure. I mean, if there is something that stands out, I'm sure a lot of people would respond to that same person. So, is there something that
See,
you?
I won't say any contemporary writers, because then that's really unsafe for me.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go with
If I'm
the.
the
That's
page
right.
editor, I won't,
That's
like,
right.
say things like that.
Right.
But yeah, but it's very safe to say that, I don't know, if I say things like, I mean, the old classics, it's very
Yeah.
safe,
Yeah.
you
Otherwise,
know.
it doesn't. But is there anything in a book that stood out to you? That was like a piece of writing that was just amazing. Or maybe a couple. I'm not saying one, maybe two, three. That kind of, you said in the recent times that you say, no, this is definitely worth for people to go into and read. And people
See, the
not be,
thing
may
is,
not be reaching into it ordinarily, but if you would recommend it, or not even recommend, but you just, what I'm saying.
I mean, if you're talking about Indian, writing in English, there's so much happening.
Yeah.
and it's and what I'm like really happy about is that now at least there seems to be a readership that can help a
Yes,
readership. There seems to be a readership, which earlier
exactly,
when I was growing up, it was like, Indians were just writing for people outside. Now
mm,
Indians are writing for us,
exactly,
which
exactly.
is really a great thing. There's enough of a readership for people to, I mean, maybe not, maybe this they'd still have to have a side job, a job, but
Sure,
still,
sure,
at least
sure.
the numbers are there.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not like you have to tailor it to a Western audience, readership, which often is what used to be happening, right?
That's right.
So now you're writing for Indians, so there's a um, there's a certain authenticity about
Mm,
that,
mm,
right?
mm,
I'm really glad that we've reached that stage where we're writing travel books for ourselves. For people are writing, Indians are writing travel books for other Indians. They're writing mystery detective fiction for other
mm,
Indians. Like
mm,
Chetan Bhagat's done it,
mm, mm,
and
mm,
Anuja Chauhan has done it,
mm,
and
mm, mm,
Madhuri Little has done it. So
mm.
many people are doing it, and they're
Sure,
doing it
sure.
well,
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
doing it. Like, each of them has their own specific sort of reader.
Mm,
I mean, somebody who reads a Chetan Bhagat might not will not read these other
mm.
writers, but still there are different kinds.
Of course.
Within the space, there are different writers doing different things. And that's great. And and there's popular writing, there's literary fiction,
Yeah,
there's all
yeah,
sorts.
yeah.
So it's not like one is always looking like earlier. I used to feel like as a student that one is always looking to the West, for and our linguistic background is so rich. We've got so many like native languages, and all of us are bilingual,
Yes,
even if some of us have lost the capacity to write because of, well, colonialism and the
yes,
baggage that's come with
yes.
it. We've lost some of our languages in the sense of like writing. And the one thing I hate about my husband is that he's so fluent in both English and Malayalam,
Mm.
and like he can read. And I was brought up in Bombay, and I had the only other language, Indian language I can read is Hindi, and I
Correct.
can understand Marathi, and of course I speak Malayalam fluently, but I can't read and write it. And I
Sure.
feel that that's like it's something
It's
that's
a
been
loss.
stolen from.
It's a
It's a
loss. Yeah.
loss. I feel it. you
Mm,
know
mm-hmm.
so though when I read and write in English, and I can say, oh, I think in English, which is all bullshit. I think in a lot of languages,
Correct.
like all of us. Sometimes I'm thinking in Hindi, sometimes I'm thinking in
Yeah.
Malayalam, sometimes
Yeah.
I'm thinking in English, and sometimes I'm thinking in all three at the same time,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the case with all of us.
Yeah.
It's only maybe the mother tongue that might be different,
Right. Right.
but otherwise, like for most urban Indians of a certain class, at least, this is the truth, right?
Exactly. 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 That we do. We are actually very very dexterous in the way that we think,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
in the
yeah,
languages that we use to think and then
yeah,
speak also. Absolutely, absolutely. And
yeah.
I get what you're saying. Manjula, in terms of next steps, what's happening for you now? Where are you? What's on the cards? Where's the next biking trip? What are you up to?
Biking trip.
Don't get stuck on just the biking trip. I mean, what else is happening for you?
Okay, because I'm
That's a
thinking of
new way
biking trip
out.
because there's summer is coming and I want to like get out of the city
Yeah, yeah,
and just zoom somewhere into the mountains. So
yeah.
that's why I got stuck on the
Yeah. So,
biking
is there
trip.
some place you're planning to go? In any case, have you identified
I'd
something?
love to go to Spiti,
Pretty,
Spiti in the
pretty
mountains
long.
or the northeast,
Hmm,
which I haven't done.
hmm.
These are nice places to go to ride in the summer.
Okay,
So
okay. Yeah,
let's see.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but otherwise, I need to do something. Like I need to sort of, I don't know. There are lots of plans, I guess, but yeah, I want to write more, paint more, do more work. you know.
Mm.
So yeah, maybe.
Is the write more in the sense of, are you looking at writing a book, or are you writing some other stuff or
Mm,
that? Is that something that's happening for you, or is it still
Yeah,
under
but
the cards? Yeah, not. It's still under wraps actually. So
well, it's only, I think, I don't know. I've been like the books editor, so
yeah,
I've been looking at everybody else's books, but I've never written a book myself.
right.
So I read a lot. So I was thinking like, why haven't I? So let me see, something I should definitely explore. You know,
Sure.
because it's,
Absolutely.
though for me, I find writing is the most. I mean, I do it well. I know I do it well, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the
Sure.
most excruciating thing in the universe. It's like pulling teeth writing,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like really, like I don't know whether we still have them. Those people who used to, at least in Bombay when I was a kid, there used to be this guy who used to come in a skirt and
Mm,
sort of like a skirt of rags and
mm,
with this big thick rope, and he used to beat himself
yeah.
like that, and he
Mm,
used to take money for that. He and his wife would be
mm,
the dum,
mm,
whatever,
mm,
the drum. She'd
mm.
be beating it, and he'd just take this rope and keep whacking himself.
Uh,
So
yeah.
it's like writing is like that. Your pure
Wow.
self-flagellation.
But that's so powerful. That's so powerful. Because there's the pain of giving birth to this thing, no, and the getting the right
Yeah.
words and the right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Oof.
and putting that feeling into expression, and
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
very, I'm
Hats off
sure when
to
you
them.
write you feel like, why am I getting into this? Why am I doing this?
Yeah. 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 And especially, like writers of writers of fiction, which grows from their own lives. They, I mean, all writers kind of examine their own experience in many different ways. It might not come out as autobiographical, but still they do it. And if it's like really genuine writing, it comes from a place deep within yourself. I don't know, you know, it's making yourself so vulnerable. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
find
yeah,
I find that very brave,
yeah,
very brave. You know?
absolutely. It's so true, so true what you just said. It is. It takes a
Yes.
lot of courage to do that, to bear yourself.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So,
uh,
in terms of any other people that you feel have been key influences on your life, and then I'm going to ask you one more question. But any
key
people?
influence
Yeah.
in my life, I think my father was a very key influence. He passed away when I was 18,
Mm.
and he was a naval officer. I mean, and so yeah, and he used to read voraciously. So
Ah.
that kind of, yeah, that he passed that down to me, and I never realized how I mean, as a kid you don't realize, but then I find myself thinking about him a lot now.
Mm.
Uh, you know
Yeah.
so as I grow older, I think, oh gosh, that must have been so difficult for him now. And he's passed away like how many decades ago, but still. So that also brings you to this idea that people die, but they don't really die, because
No.
you're still living, I mean, in your head, right?
Mm.
You're still having conversations with them,
Mm.
so so
Yeah.
it's something. So there's a world that's unseen, and that we know nothing about, but clearly it exists. Like um, the unseen world also exists. I'm not you know and when people have also come to this very recently, to this idea that we tend to think of the world as only what is real, but mysticism is so out of fashion. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But I'm beginning to think that those are the realms that we haven't explored, and they exist because it has an influence on us in the sense of how we think and how we act. You know, I don't know. It sounds very obscure
No,
when
Manjula.
I'm saying this,
No, not at
but
all. Not at all. In fact, I am so glad that you're bringing this up and speaking about it so easily and so naturally, because it's a very, very important part of our lives that we
yes,
sometimes tend to cut off. and do not bring
Yes.
into normal everyday conversation. And
Yes.
and it deserves that place because my God, do we need it? You know,
Yeah.
we are in
Yeah.
spaces where we're looking for it without even wanting to acknowledge that that's what we're looking for. We don't know
Yes.
what our source is, and we're looking to try to
Yes.
get back to it, but don't have the courage to say it. I mean, the many things,
Yes.
the many, and so I
Yeah.
really appreciate your bringing this up. It's not obscure. It's not
Okay.
obscure at all. It's so
Okay.
important to bring it into mainstream conversation. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Um, so your unique gift to humankind. I believe each individual has something very unique to offer, which nobody else can. Nobody else. So there's only one Manjula, right? So what is it that you is your gift? Your gift to this whole tapestry of our existence. You are the unique thread in that, no? So what do you think you bring?
Mm, I think uh, I think I bring. I mean, I don't know. Um, I don't know. I don't know if somebody was to look at me and if they were actually looking to find something to learn, I would think that it is it's my ability to not lose myself in the pursuit of popularity. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think I think that's what distinguishes me from a lot of other people because you know
And that is
everybody
so
wants
true.
to be popular.
Yeah.
I mean, like a lot of people, and they make it there, and they kill themselves doing that because why should you, you know, why should you cheapen yourself like this?
Yeah.
If you don't believe in something, just because the majority is saying it doesn't mean you have to like say it.
Exactly.
And why? You know, and I think that is one thing that is different about me is that I if I look at something and I think it's bullshit, I will say it's bullshit even if everybody else is saying it's great. That's one thing about myself that I know, and I am glad I have it.
That is really strong. That is really strong. And has that stood you in good stead?
Yeah, it stood me in good stead.
Because you believe in it and you've kind of been
Yeah,
true to it. So, yeah,
yeah,
there are no half measures around it. Should I or shouldn't I?
mm,
You just do it, right?
yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. That is brilliant. And I think there's a lot of people who could learn a lot from that. So seeing where you are, how you are poised in your work today, by being by not by being yourself, I think it would give a lot of hope and inspiration to people who are just starting out, similar journeys such as yours, people who are in the middle of it, wondering how to deal with this. Is there, along with what you've just said, any other message you'd like to give them?
Uh, I think I don't know. I think one should expose oneself to music, to to art, to literature, to culture, and not be and not be snobbish because and not be snobbish about it being only high culture or
Yeah.
you should expose yourself to all sorts of because because somebody is very poor doesn't mean that they are also this thing I remember once going into this village in Bengal. Okay, and there was this guy who was a Patachitra artist. Okay,
Mm,
it's a
yes.
form, the
Yes,
Patachitra
it's
form. He was an
beautiful.
old
Yes.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was an old man and he done all these scrolls, and it was a small, remote village.
Mm.
And people were living in like mud plastered huts, and they were beautiful homes. Okay, which I don't know. When I got pictures back, the guys in the design department said, "Are iski jhopadi?" And I was thinking, this is not a jhopadi. This is to me, it seemed like a fantastic house, which was completely in tune with nature, and it
Mm.
was built with that place in mind, and so yeah, I was talking about so this man, I can't even remember his name, but he wasn't educated at all. I think he was illiterate completely. Okay, but I found that he was like so intelligent. He wasn't lettered,
Yes.
but we were having a conversation, and I found that he could like he was talking about the myths of the village, and the legends of the village,
Wow.
and about Patachitra and how to do it, and how he'd been taught to do it, and how he was going to teach others, and this particular form, and why it was so important to him, and how he felt sad that it was dying out,
Mhm.
things like that. And so I was thinking, he's not been even to school, but
Because of
there's so
wisdom.
much that one can learn from a person like this,
Mhm.
so that's what. So I mean, and I find that us, a lot of us, we think that if a person isn't like isn't rich, or isn't, maybe not even rich, like isn't an urban person, or
Mhm.
isn't in the same sort of corporate race or
Mhm.
whatever, that they're somehow beneath us. It's not true, because they know many other things, and there are many other realms of knowledge,
Exactly.
outside us, our little square that we have boxed ourselves into.
Absolutely.
So we should open ourselves to everything, and I think that is a learning. And I think people should do that, because our lives are much richer if we are not only thinking of people like us, because there are all sorts of people in the world, and they all, our humanity joins us, but because they have different experiences, there's much that we can learn from them. There's nobody who's useless.
I couldn't
Yeah.
agree more. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Absolutely. Manjula, thank you so much for this wonderful, wonderful conversation. I've learned a lot, and it's been a great exchange. And thank you so much for making the time and coming on a
Thank you,
conversation with
Shiva.
me. It's been a
It's so
pleasure.
nice talking to you.
It always is so nice talking to you as well. You take care, and thank you once again. That's a good for this wonderful soul.
Bye.
Care. Bye bye. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.